a quick apology because Gail was actually given the wrong part of Isaiah to read this morning. So it would do us all well to disregard the awe and terror in this vision. Because certainly awe and terror are not in line with God. And please do not think about the sinfulness or the sins of our society that we heard about in this reading. We would feel much better contemplating six-winged creatures and whether or not they are actually real. And please don't think about the relief or the freedom that Isaiah must have known when God cleansed and forgave him, instead of letting him fall to the ground in death. It would be better for us if we thought about how we can harness the heat of charcoal rather than the pain and agony which accompanied the searing of Isaiah's lips. And whatever you do, don't imagine yourself able to stand up, freely forgiven, and cry out with Isaiah, "Send me, because I cannot wait to go." And under no circumstances should you let the Spirit of God within you cause your mind and heart to think, what if God sent me? Don't wonder where would I go. And don't wonder what would it look like. And don't wonder who would I meet. And at all costs, please do not wonder what would happen to me. No, please do not listen to their words, because they are much, much too dangerous. And as we all know, danger does not belong in a church. Instead, you should remain comfortable and cozy in the pew. And in the case of an emergency, air mask will drop from the ceiling. Of course, I am being overly sarcastic to make a strong and crucial proclamation. If we are actually going to contemplate God, which is what Isaiah does here, in this vision, he encounters God divine, holy, magnificent, and glorious, creator not only of the universe, but of the fingerprints on your fingers, of the freckles across your nose, and of the timbre of your voice. If we are going to contemplate that God, then we must also recognize that God is disturbing and that God is uncomfortable. The God, as testified to over and over in the scriptures, is raw and unfiltered. We must wrestle with the fact that Isaiah is downright terrified when he sees God. So much so that he is sure he is going to die. Now, it's true that in ancient traditions it was understood that one could not actually see God and live. Even Moses only ever saw the back of God. But I also think theologically, people needed to rationalize God's invisibility. They couldn't have been so different from us, longing for God to show up, wishing for a tangible God, something to hold on to. It's why they and we too craft idols. And they could reason, if they couldn't see God, that this was God's way of protecting them. Because if we saw God, it'll all be over. But Isaiah sees God, and he doesn't die. So now we have a problem. A whole theological, ontological, and systematical breakdown has occurred here in Isaiah. So why didn't God kill him dead on the spot? Or maybe he did. Maybe Isaiah did die. Right there at the foot of God, in the company of seraphs, Isaiah died completely. And I know this for one reason. Some of you have heard me talk about how a few weeks ago I ran this zombie run with Carter and a family friend, Michael. Well, this zombie run is basically a 5K obstacle course, which was overrun with pretend zombies who were out to kill us. Well, the object of the game was to finish still alive. And the way to finish alive was to not lose the flags that you had tied around your waist. So each of us had 3 flags, which basically meant we had 3 lives. And the zombies tried to grab our flags as we jumped over walls and swam through, lakes and stuff. Well, the one thing was that if we lost all of our flags, then we were, for the purpose of the game, dead, right? But we still got to finish. Even though we were dead, we still got to finish. Well, I could tell you all about the race. I could tell you all about swimming through the lakes and how it felt to have zombies chase you. But what I want to tell you about is how it was to run the race after I died. See, while I was protecting my flags, I was afraid of the zombies. I did everything I could to avoid them. At one point, Michael and Carter had lost all their flags, and I still had one left. And so they were protecting me, right? So maybe one of us would finish alive. And so we would huddle, and we would dodge, and we slowed down, and we played it safe. Anything, so I could avoid losing my last flag. Well, with about a half a mile to go, the zombies cornered me, took my flag, and I died. But it was just a game. But since you even though you lost your flags, you still got to finish, I was thinking about how it was so different to run the race after I died. And so the next time I came to a field of zombies, dead, I didn't run away from them. I ran at them. And I didn't slow down, I sped up. And I didn't second guess myself. I just went. And I didn't stand still. I had purpose. And I wasn't scared. I was free. I knew I couldn't die anymore. I'd already died, and I just kept going. And the thing is, the zombies knew I was dead too. And it wasn't just because I didn't have any flags. There are ways to hide this. But they knew based on the way I ran at them. They could read my body language. What are you going to do to something that's already dead? Well, I'm pretty competitive. And so I thought the next time I run one of these zombie runs, I will run it like I'm already dead. I will run straight at the zombies the whole time. And I'll run straight into the fire. I'll run like I have nothing to lose. That will be my strategy. And that's how I envision Isaiah being sent. Running like he's already dead and has nothing left to lose. Nothing holding him back. Because there's a semantics issue in words that I want to make sure that you're hearing. See, it's not that Isaiah is dying. I believe he actually died to who he was there at the foot of God, when he was cleansed and entirely and completely forgiven. And it's not that the king is dying. The king is dead. And it is not even that the people are dying. Many of the people to whom Isaiah is going, many of them are dead. It's all over as they know it. Isaiah is being sent into death as a dead person. Now, believe me, I love the hymn that we're going to sing in a few minutes. However, we have softened the edge of this story with lovely melodies. And we have embroidered it on stoles. Half the pastors I know have had these verses read at their ordinations. And this isn't bad. It's good. I mean, we want the church to go. We want the church to be sent. And so the question I really wanted to pose to you this morning, actually to God, is where do you want us to go? But that's not the question. Actually, it is the question, but there's a terrifying and scary piece that has to happen first. First, we have to die, which means that we don't protect our own life or how we understand the life of the church. We aren't about life support. We are about life and death. We are about being crucified and raised from the dead. And I think about this a lot, this death piece, not in a morbid sense and not in a zombie sense, but in a doing life as if there's nothing left to lose. That, to me, is the gift of Jesus' resurrection here and now. Before heaven and earth are joined as one, before Jesus comes back, and even before each one of us physically dies, that's the gift of the resurrection today. What if the question wasn't, where are we being sent? But rather, where would you go? And what would you do if Jesus said to you, this is it, the last thing you will do? What if Jesus said to the church, Epiphany, this is it. This is the last thing you will ever do. As a church, what scares us the most? Have you ever thought about that? The thing that would be the absolute worst thing in the world for us. The thing that would sear our lips. The thing that would make our bones rattle. The thing that would kill us and make us run. And then instead of shying away from it, what if we ran straight at it? That's what it would be like to be sent like Isaiah. We're afraid of not having enough members. Okay. We're afraid of that. Do you want to talk about it? Or do you want to do something about it? We're afraid of not having enough money. Do we want to talk about this some more? Or do we want to do something about it? People say all the time, we're afraid that church is I'm all worked up. Irrelevant today. So do you want to talk about how much it doesn't matter to people today? Or do you want to do something about it? Are you afraid that people don't know in their own lives the good and forgiving God that you know? I am too. So you want to talk about that? Or you want to go tell them about it? I think about the list of things that scare me. And what scares me the most is not doing something about it. I mean, we can sit here in the pews, or we can run out there into zombie land. But it's pretty darn hard to be sent while we're sitting down. Wouldn't you rather be sent? Out there, terrified to death, but alive in Christ, making a difference for God. I know that God's saying something to you and to me, because there are moments in my life when I think, oh, what the church could be if we lived like we had already died. And this is one of them. I will warn you, though, In the beginning, I told you not to ask a few questions for a reason. Do not ask, where will I go? Because the answer is, I don't know. And do not ask, what will it look like? Because the answer is, I don't know. And who will I meet? I don't know. The answer is always, I don't know. Because it's terrifying to be in the presence of God. Except the last question. What will happen to me? What will happen to us? We will die if we allow ourselves to be sent. And then we will know life.